All right. Well, thank you. Welcome to the Sugarhouse Community Council meeting. Thanks for taking the time as usual. Hi, Bill. Remember, you can sign up for the Sugarhouse Community Council newsletter. We'll put a link in the chat. We continue to have some restrictions. Hopefully that'll change here in the next month or so. All questions to presenters will be taken in the chat tonight. So if you guys want to start posting stuff now, I think most of you have seen the agenda. You're welcome to do that. So just a couple of announcements. We're going to hold a District 7 City Council candidate night at our October meeting. We're kind of working through the details, so we'll let Amy and Ben and whoever else is running know well in advance. Filing deadline's August 10th through the 17th, and then Will Coker will obviously run that show. So there's also some rumors on social media about Sprague flooding, but they are not true, so that's great. Let's get to it. Is Mike Bagley on, Brandon? Okay. Let's just go let's go to Bill Knowles. Bill, you look nice and comfortable. Go ahead.
That was just the point. I was nice and comfortable. I wasn't ready to be going to work yet. Okay, well, I'll just move into this and get my stuff out of the way. I think probably the ongoing most important piece of news here is the Sugarmont Apartments, arguably the oldest project in the Salt Lake area right today that remains unfinished. So I think there's some kind of an award or some recognition coming up for the Boulder Benches folks. But the fact is they do have the good news is it's going fast. What they do have done, the East Tap that they opened up here about a month and a half ago, a couple of months now, is gone. So they're sold that out. They're working briskly. It says sales are moving briskly on the second half. And that's supposed to be completed within the next couple of weeks. So by the end of this month. And of course, we have noticed their target dates seem to shift as they move along. So all of these dates or times I'm giving you are subject to review at the next meeting we have. But right now, the thing that's left to be done is mainly the townhomes. There was a special issues and situations, I was told by Mr. Vitek, that has placed those kind of down the line somewhat, excuse me, but they are expected to be done by late fall, which will of course complete the entire project. And there should be a very big celebration by a lot of people by that time. The Sugarmont Street itself should be open in 2 weeks. And again, that's been a moving target. This is the third date we've gotten now, but they keep getting an extension, but it is now set for August 16th. And not huge news, but it would greatly improve circulation situations in that area, which are already restricted and always a little bit too crowded. So that's the good news, is I think the light is getting bigger at the end of the tunnel at the Sugarmont project. Canal project, as most of you know, is completed. You may have noticed a new lane configuration from 21st South, at least extending out past the overpass. And depends on who you talk to, it's working pretty well. There is some work still to be done. There is a bike lane, solid lane designation, which indicates bike lane, but official green bike lane insignias will be added here shortly. It's been ordered for some time, but apparently, like a lot of other material shortages right now, they've been slow getting them out to the site. But Lynn Jacobs assures me that they'll be out there within the next week or two. And to some degree of the confusion that sometimes I see driving that street and seeing that used as a travel lane because it's not set otherwise really, will be going away as it's officially designated a bike lane for what it's supposed to be. Quick update on some of the other private owner projects. Izzy's South and North, of course, totally demoed and ready for construction. Still waiting for some final approvals on their design stuff. And but from what I'm told, pretty much everything's moving forward to the point they should be seeing some activity there in the next few weeks. Oh, one of my favorite projects now, the 2021s. They've, yeah, you're.
Bill, it just started.
I know. That's what I had a long discussion with our engineer guy just the other day, because I mean, you won't believe, and I won't bore you all, but the emails, the volume of emails going back and forth on this project already having just started, and seemingly no one went to school on the processes or what needed to be done here. So it kind of had to be, it's been an ongoing tutorial. But you're right, you made my day Monday, and I was looking for a really good laugh Monday morning. So your report and me seeing later the barricades floating down or having floated down 21st South, that was a pretty good one. But God, but it really was no surprise with the guys we're working with. So the good news is there and Scott Weiler is not on here, but I give him a shout out. In engineering has been very, very strong and tough on these guys. They will have a permanent ped walkway in place before the beginning of the school year at Dilworth. So they've got about 2.5, less than 3 weeks to get that finished. And he's assured me that they will have it done. And he's, as I said, he's getting a lot of flack from people he doesn't want to right now. So that will be looking better for the pedestrian access up and down the 21st South side of things. Excuse me. I don't know if Judy does, but I'm going to say a little mysterious. I don't have an update on the 9th East in Sugarmont apartment project there. Not sure, I can't find anything recent on it. So we know what's happening, but I got no more information as to when.
Snellgroves, Bill?
Now, Snellgrove, that's another story.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I see that our friend Mark isn't on here, but from what we hear, it's supposed to still happen relatively soon. He's definitely having some lumps with the planning department there, and it's frustrating for at least I know the developer side of the deal. But I think they're relatively small issues that we hope that will get resolved in a short time and have that moving forward. I did get an update on the Alcantara project there by Sugarmont, or the 24-hour fitness. Their 45-day public comment period just started here a couple of days ago. So it will extend into September. And that, of course, starts the clock for some of their approval work with the Planning Commission and planning departments. Demolition permits has been applied for, and which is not, it's pretty much standard procedure. It doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately, but it could. So the sooner the better, I know a lot of us are saying, but we expect to see that demolition starting within the next maybe three weeks to 6 weeks prior to the end of that 45-day period. But it's moving forward. And that right now we don't see any roadblocks to that situation. The sewer project on 21st, that's a big project coming up. We're doing some already pre-project discussion. One of those discussions centers around the fact that they're going to have to take a lane between Highland Drive and 13th East, even though a lot of it's going to be underground and bored. But we're discussing the situation with our good friends there at the drive-through and Chick-fil-A as to where do we get that extra lane? Because they're taking up one lane most of the time with their drive-through. So we're hoping to have that drive-through. I know Landon knows, and the city and people have been working with them to get an extra driveway put in and extended to extend the holding space for their drive-through vehicles. But it's starting to now be time sensitive. So we need to have that figured out by next spring, because right now that's when we think the sewer project will be coming into play. And of course, these things are all subject to, adjustments due to time and weather, and now cost of materials. So that is as much as I know right now of any of the hot things going on down there. Do I have any questions, or I should look at the chats, I guess, here. I think
No, I don't see any in the chats. Brandon's
Okay.
asking what the problems are with the Snellgrove project, but Judy might be able to address that as well.
Yeah, okay. I know he's having some problems with not apparently activating the Commonwealth side of the street at ground level. That the comment was, it seems to be a faux, activation. There's really nothing going on there, but it's made to look like there's something going on there. And to what degree that is going to hold up or not, I think the point that was being made by the developer was that putting retail at ground level on Commonwealth at this point does not make a lot of sense, in terms of there's really nothing, not going to be anything attractive to a retailer moving into that side of the street, or of the building. And consequently, they're making it look nice and making it look, active in terms of kind of a faux retail window presentation, but it's basically hiding a parking lot. And the planning guy didn't like that idea and thinks it needs to be, in fact, truly activated somehow. So I think that argument is still being discussed. As I said, I see a lot of the practical side of it in this case, on the developer side, but I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but that's what it's down to. And to how they resolve that, everything else seems to be okay, except that. So, yeah, so that's as much as I know.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for coming tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. Always good.
Always.
And you can reach me and yell at me if you like. Well, no, don't yell at me. But talk to me if you have some concerns or issues and questions. So
Bill, there's a couple people on here from the country club. Do you mind putting your phone number or email in the chat?
sure.
They
Will
have
do.
it. Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, we will.
Okay, let's go to Detective Meinzer.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So I wanted to real quick, we'll go over the top 5 stats for July. And then I'll give a link for if anyone wants to go more in depth, you're welcome to go online and get those stats. Call me, I can tell you all about them. So in the month of July, 2021, we had 37 car prowls, and in June we had 62. So a significant decrease. I think a lot of that was attributed to, we have had a lot more reporting from District 7 of suspicious behavior. So thank you guys for actually reaching out. That's a very big thing right now. Is low staffing means that we need every little bit we can get from the citizens. If you see crime, report it. So thank you for doing that. That was very helpful. The second number one is hit and run traffic accidents. There were 24. And then it is followed by traffic accidents that were non-reportable. So they're typically like minor traffic accidents. There were 21. And then we had fraud of credit cards. There were 17. And then number 5 was major traffic accidents. There were 17, but in June there were 42. So big decrease there. I don't know why that one decreased. It's a good question. I wish I had that answer. So let me post in the chat the link for the online for stats. Also, I'll be posting the link for bicycle registration. One thing that we notice is there will be lots of bikes out on the streets. and we'll run for serial numbers to see if they're stolen and they're not stolen. So sometimes people will have really expensive bikes and their stories will be kind of weird about how they got them. And it'll be like, okay, well, I can't prove that it's someone else. So online registration is free. Please take the 5 minutes that it takes to do that. And then I did want to talk about the camp, the homeless camp at the DI. So there was a health department cleanup that worked on that one. What I have been being told by citizens is that it's moved over to Fairmont Park. That's kind of what I've noticed. So I did work with the health department. They're aware of that, and we're trying to game plan that one as well. So if you guys see any other issues, please reach out to me about those. And then lastly, I kind of wanted to talk about our CIT team. I'm trying to educate all of our citizens through our community councils to try and give an understanding of what we do a little bit more, to try and be more transparent. So our CIT program is our crisis intervention team. And what that consists of is we have a squad that is dedicated to that. They work directly with our social workers. So anytime that we have calls for service where there might be somebody who is in a mental health crisis, typically a patrol officer will respond out first, and every single one of our officers is crisis intervention team trained. However, we know that when you do the job, just that job, you get much better at it. So whenever they get on scene and they're like, hey, you know what, I think this is above me. I'm probably not the best equipped for this. They'll call out those detectives. They bring social workers and they'll work that case from there. And I have a good example. So actually yesterday I was at a convenience store. They had been having a problem with a gentleman that had been basically, banging on every person's window, demanding money. He ended up throwing paint at a car. So when I met with him, he was very agitated, and I was like, I think this guy's like gonna fight me. And he wouldn't sit down. And then talking to him, I discovered he's very autistic. And so I was like, why are you on the streets? He sleeps outside on the lawn every night, and he doesn't have anywhere to stay. So I worked with our guys. We got him a bed to get him in a shelter. But it was just that his mental health crisis was kind of spiking at the moment. And that was kind of the exacerbation of his behavior was because of that. So I was happy that we had a great outcome for that one. That's kind of an example of how the CIT program works. I'm happy to take any questions in chat, and I'll put my information in chat as well. Call, text, email, anytime. I'm happy to talk to citizens and work on issues that you guys feel are important.
Hey, thanks, Detective. Okay, Tim. So next we'll have the Mayor's Liaison, Tim Cosgrove, talk.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you still meeting in the summertime and all the volunteer work that you do and making the community a great community. We had a lot of things going on this last month, and Detective Meinzer identified the homeless encampment that moved across the street to Fairmont Park. I don't know if a lot of you may know Haley Leak in our office. She's the mayor's coordinator for volunteer corps for Salt Lake City. They are doing a reach out, what do they call it? Resource fair on next Wednesday, August 11th from 8 to 2 p.m. And they're actually looking for volunteers to assist with the setup of tents. There's a number of services that our VOA outreach provide for persons experiencing homelessness and trying to get them off the streets and into shelter or into the cooling centers. So volunteers are needed at this event. If you want to sign up, it's Wednesday, August 11th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can sign up for just a couple of hours. I can put the link in the chat, and then it kind of identifies some of the things that you would be doing, maybe just passing out bottles of water, talking, engaging with people. I got notice today that also Tim Gadsden, the superintendent for the school district, is also having a back to school fair for Salt Lake City School District. And they're hosting that at Glendale Middle School out on 1430 Andrew Avenue. And that's going to be August 20th from 3 to 8 p.m. There's a lot of activities. They've got tents and music and family-friendly activities and prizes, drawings. So trying to get the community engaged back as a community after we've gone through this COVID and maybe still going through COVID. I don't know, it's a hard roller coaster to ride, but everybody's, I think, trying to do the best they can to coordinate efforts. But I encourage you to participate with Superintendent Gadsden. There's Salt Lake City has also partnered with the American Institute of Architects for a tiny home design competition. You may know that Mayor Mendenhall has put out a design or an idea for addressing persons experiencing homelessness in this partnership that we've developed with the Other Side Academy. And they're looking at 5 different criteria for designing tiny homes with the affordability, accessibility to transportation, the sustainability of building this tiny home cottage. What else was on there? The durability, making it last long, and just overall livability, the quality of life that you or I or anybody else would want to have living in a tiny home. I'll put that link if you're interested. I think the prizes were around $1,000 for coming up for a design for the tiny homes. And the Magnolia Apartments opened. They're 165 South, 300 East. They were 65 units of newly constructed studio apartments for individuals with chronic homelessness, and they're low income, but they're looking for donations for kitchen kits. They're called kitchen kits, putting together plates, glasses, can openers, knives, forks, silverware, things that you would use in a kitchen, blenders, coffee makers, anything that the community feels like they would want to come together. Maybe a community council could go in together and build a kitchen kit and deliver that to the Magnolia Apartments. And let's see, and we have a lot of, I don't know if I shared this with you last month in July, but there's a lot of positions open for boards, commissions, and committees. We have over 20 boards, community boards, commissions, and committees within the city. And I know you have so many subcommittees within Sugarhouse Community Council, but if you're looking at a scale of interest in volunteering in Salt Lake City, there's a lot that are open and available right now, and I'll include that in the chat. You can kind of look and see if any of those fits your interest, and I'd love for you to apply. I think that's it, unless there's some questions.
Hey, Tim, can you speak on how much water has been saved by residents?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was brought up in a meeting yesterday with the mayor. She had a bring your own lunch meeting with our community council chairs and Laura Briefer from Public Utilities. And thanks to the hard work and efforts of our residents in Salt Lake City, there's been a 20% savings of water over the time period of last year at this time that Salt Lake City residents have used less water in order to save and sustain our water source for longer period of time. So that was some really good news that was shared, and we got to keep on saving. We're not out of the woods by any means, but I think you're right on, Landon, for giving some accolades and attaboys, attagirls for the good residents of Salt Lake City and Sugarhouse for saving water.
We're part of your city, Tim.
Yep, thank you. Thanks, Landon.
All right, thanks, Tim. We're gonna go to Misty Morris. Do you see her, Brandon?
I'm here.
Oh, hi, Misty. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to be able to come and talk to the community council and folks that are interested in the area. So we are hosting, as part of the Global Day of Unplugging, a scavenger hunt here in Salt Lake City that will involve little free libraries around town. So this Saturday, starting at 10 a.m., folks can come to the Vic-Moore Little Free Library, which is 1845 East Westminster Avenue, and pick up their map and instructions and have an adventure in town. And we hope that it'll give families or individuals a chance to unplug from their technology and explore our wonderful community. So if anybody has any questions or needs the address, we're on social media, Facebook and Instagram under Vic-Moore. And I think that's about it. It's going to be really fun. We have prizes and crafts.
Do you mind putting that info in the chat and we'll help promote it?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, anytime. Okay, we're gonna unmute Mindy Smith. Mindy Smith runs family services for Highland High. We're also gonna unmute Jeremy Chatterton. He's the principal of Highland, but more importantly, he's also a Sugarhouse Community Council trustee. You have them, Brandon? All right, Mindy.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, great. So I run Highland High Family Support, and I first have to thank everyone, the Sugarhouse Council, Sugarhouse in general. The community has been so supportive of our most vulnerable students. At Highland, we have hundreds of students that live at or below the poverty line. On our data is not last year because of COVID, it's actually the year before because we didn't take any numbers last year. But we have about 120 refugees, and we have, it's actually the last reporting we did, it was 607 children that live at or below the poverty line. And family support tries to take care of their physical needs, and it's just my phone. I'm going to show you my pantry. Hold on, it'll take 2 seconds. It's around the corner. So we have this pantry, and you know, sadly, we had a pipe burst this week, and so all of my supplies, my storage was totally ruined. So any help that anyone can give in donations or anything would be fabulous. So I'm gonna, you know, and you can see the demographic you're working with isn't that. I'm gonna flip this. So this is our pantry right here, and kids can come in. They can take whatever they need for their family. So we have that, and then on this other side we have clothes, and these are our cute volunteers. We have those awesome volunteers. And so anyway, do you have any questions?
Mindy, we're taking all questions by the chat. Can you put your info in the chat so someone can call you?
Oh, okay.
She does a phenomenal job down there.
Yes, absolutely. I would. And you, the council's been so supportive. And, you know, we're also having a free homecoming dance for all of our students. So if you'd like to donate to that and help a child have some fun after kind of a long, horrendous year, that would be awesome. You know, we do supper Santas, and anything you can give us, you know, if you want to volunteer, that's great. We need a background check through the district though, but anything we appreciate.
Hey, Mindy, what are the major items you're looking for?
Well, you know what, right now, back to school, supplies are, you know, spiral notebooks. You have a new great, calculators are great. If you do any food items, I like them small so the kids can put them in their backpacks as they go home. Like the flour and sugar, like 5 pounds each. The kids also go through tons of like cup of noodles because they can take that to work. So that's, you know, I know it's not great nutrition wise, but though that anything like that, you know, SpaghettiOs, anything a teenager would like, that's what we need.
Any checks I saw in the chat, any checks can be donated directly to Highland High School to take care of the family support services, and those will go directly into Mindy and our family support account.
Jerry, you want to talk about school for a sec?
Sure. So yeah, we're
Thanks, Mindy.
yeah, Mindy is fantastic. We appreciate all she does, and she's working really hard to make sure all of our students have the basic needs that they need to be able to come to school and learn. Students can't learn if they're hungry. Students can't learn if they're cold or if they don't have somewhere comfortable and safe to sleep at night. Mindy does an amazing job helping all those students with those basic needs. We're excited about school starting up. August 24th is the first day of school for the Salt Lake City School District. So yeah, hopefully they'll get that walkway finished for Dilworth. Highland High School, everything is going well. Our numbers are actually up this year. We are right at around 1,973 students. So it's in comparison, about 4 years ago, our numbers were about 1,600 students. So we're up about 300, almost 400 students from where we've been. So a really large freshman class coming in. And we're just excited to get school back up and running. As of right now, everything is planned in person, obviously, and we're doing the best we can to try and make sure we're keeping everybody as safe as possible. The school board, the legislature, in my understanding, has come forward saying last May not allowing any masks in schools. And so, or not requiring, masks in schools. We are going to recommend students and teachers wear masks, but it's going to be an interesting start to the school year for sure.
And Jared, when does school start? I should know that.
August.
Kids.
Yeah, August 24th. Tuesday, August 24th is the first day of school.
All right. Thanks. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, let's go. Tom Millar just joined us. He's going to give us an update on Mcclelland.
Awesome. Thanks for unmuting me, Landon. Everybody can hear? Thumbs up. All right. This will be a pretty quick update. I just wanted to give a little progress report on a project that's on Mcclelland Street between 21st South and Fairmont Park. So a short little section, but pretty important. It serves as part of the Mcclelland Trail, which goes north and south in the city, roughly following the old Jordan and Salt Lake Canal alignment. Because those two blocks of Mcclelland Street are a lot more intense, I guess, for lack of a better word, than the other blocks, a lot more homes, a lot more businesses. We felt that we needed a different design than what we've done elsewhere, which is more like a share the road, neighborhood street kind of thing that really doesn't require that much design or infrastructure. So after a couple of years of engagement and kind of going back and forth on a bunch of different options, the community finally settled on a design called a shared street. And you can learn more about that on the webpage, the project webpage that I will put in the link. But basically what it means is that save for the people on the sidewalks, everybody else, either crossing the street or riding their bikes or driving, will all be sharing the same space, and they'll be going a lot slower. At least the cars will be going a lot slower than they would normally on a street of that size. So through some new landscaping areas, through some art, through kind of redesigning how the parking is laid out, as well as some creative painting. We will be visually and physically narrowing that street so that it's a much slower design speed. Design speed's the speed that you just go naturally, no matter what the speed limit sign says. And so we're working as hard as we can, as fast as we can, given the city's resources and tremendous amount of projects, as well as our consultants have a lot of projects too. A lot of people are building and designing right now. So we think that we'll probably have final design ready to bid to a contractor by the end of the year, if not sooner, and then construction would begin as soon as possible on that street early next year. The good thing about the project is that it really doesn't do much to the pavement, which is really what you can't do during the winter. So if we wanted to accelerate the project, we could do some of that concrete work and excavation and curb work during the winter, but typically we like to hold off. So yeah, start and probably be completed next year. And that'll be a nice way to welcome all of those new families that are moving into those homes, apartments, condos, and make it really a much better place for people to be rather than just for people to drive and people to park. So it'll be kind of a cool alternative to the purely residential side to the west and kind of the purely commercial and traffic side to the east. It'll be a little bit of a middle ground and nice transition from the heart of Sugarhouse into the single family home part of Sugarhouse. So yeah, that's my update on that project. And again, I'll put the link to the project webpage where you can find out more updates or find my contact information to send me an email and or give me a call if you have any questions. But I'd love to take any questions that we have right now, according to the amount of time that Landon wants me to take.
Hey, Tom, if there's any questions, do you mind just responding and then and your typing skills are spot on. So if there's any questions over there.
Yeah, I can do that in chat for sure. I'll stay on for another maybe 10 minutes. So
your kid's asleep. You have all night.
she just went to sleep. So yeah, put your questions in there or send me an email after if you'd like to do that, or call me if you'd like to talk further.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
I just wanted to introduce Representative Pitcher. You want to say a few words?
Sure. Hi. Thanks for having me. I don't have too much of an update, but I'm happy to answer any questions about what's going on at the legislature, sort of in the interim in between our sessions. Right now, I can share that the two biggest issues that seem to be at the forefront right now, at least in HD 40, is the legislature's semi-recent special session bill, which bans the use of, or which bans schools from requiring masks. I think particularly now as parents are getting ready to send their kids back to schools, this is sort of at the forefront, as well as, of course, the Delta variant sort of being more prominent in our community. And then the second would be redistricting. We are sort of vamping up our redistricting efforts that will start to really take form in September with a host of opportunity for public comments, and then drafts of new maps will be proposed with an eye to have a special new lines. So those are the two sort of big issues that we're working on, but I'm just here to answer questions if anybody has anything.
Representative, we've been answering questions in the chat, so they'll put them in there if anybody does have questions for you. So if you don't mind answering them.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm on a phone, so I don't know that I can very easily access them, but if someone can just read them.
Yeah, if I see any, I'll let you know. We've had some
Okay.
Zoom bombing, so we've had to take some precautions.
Okay,
Thank you.
can I mention one more thing?
Yeah, please.
So the opportunity to open bill files came in, I think, mid-May. And so I'm able to start working on legislation now. If anybody has anything that they see in our communities that they think requires a legislative fix at the state level, please contact me. I'm very interested in getting to work on that now before
And
things get great.
your district boundaries are what?
I've got some of Sugarhouse and then sort of the west side of Mill Creek. So I run from about 2500 south to Murray Holiday Boulevard, I think. And then from about 7th east to Highland Drive, but of course there's some random gerrymandering on the north and south ends.
All right, thank you. Maggie, you want to give an update on Muralfest?
Sure. Hi, everybody. First off, I want to give some apologies for not having an arts and culture meeting in a little bit. I've been out of the country, out of the state, but a lot of stuff's been going on in the arts and culture world here in Sugarhouse. And the number one thing is the successful Sugarhouse mural project, where we commissioned 3 muralists to paint new murals. One at Cameron Wellness, one at behind the building of Club Carumba, and one down at Sugarhouse Barbecue. The artists are Chris Peterson, Bill Lewis, and Evan Jed Mehmet. And we are celebrating these murals, the official unveiling of them during the Sugarhouse Art Walk. We're partnering with the Sugarhouse Art Walk to have live music, 2 live bands at Tizanti, live music at Monument Plaza. We're also going to have Joy Mob events join us at Monument Plaza to do some really fun activities and some surprises. So make sure you're over there around 6:45-ish to 7:30, somewhere around there. And we also have more, well, Lori Bray is the organizer of the Sugarhouse Art Walk, and she has more venues participating than we've ever had before. So I think what I'm saying is there was quite a slump in events and arts and culture here in Sugarhouse for a little while after a lot of our redevelopment happened. A lot of art and artists were kind of left the community, pushed out, maybe you could say. And I feel like we've worked really hard the last few years to revitalize that aspect of our community. And I'm just super, super excited about this event. And I want to thank, the date of it's the Sugarhouse Mural Project and the Sugarhouse Art Walk on August 13th. Thank you, somebody asking. I got to give those basic event details. Friday, August 13th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. I really quickly want to thank all of you for helping and supporting by volunteering and showing up to meetings and helping being on the selection committee to pick the muralists, donating your time and money. I really quickly want to just announce our sponsors, because the Sugarhouse Community Council, we've worked so hard on securing enough funding to even make this happen. So quickly, I want to thank the Hanson Sisters Foundation, the Sugarhouse Chamber, the Living Museum of Sugarhouse, Salt Lake Arts Council, the ACE Fund through the city, Sugarhouse Barbecue, Cameron Wellness, Altaterra Real Estate, and Engel and Volkler's Real Estate. So thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. And thank you to all the trustees. And I hope to see you all there Friday, August 13th, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. It's gonna be a blast. Thanks.
Thanks, Maggie. All right, next we're gonna get a Allen Park update by Katie Reiser. Katie, you ready?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. Just a quick update regarding Allen Park and specifically volunteerism at Allen Park. I can already see a number of faces on the meeting tonight who've been to recent volunteer community work days at Allen Park. And if you aren't aware, we're hosting those every other Tuesday at the park in the evenings, typically from 6 to 8 p.m. Our next Allen Park work day is next Tuesday at 6 p.m. And we'll continue to host those throughout the remainder of the summer and into the fall as we tackle a variety of landscaping and maintenance tasks. We've also have a really beautiful edible landscape at Allen Park, if you're not aware, with plum trees and peach trees and many other fruiting varieties. So we'll be able to get the public in to take advantage of that harvest. Maybe if you've been through the park recently, you've observed some of the recent discoveries that our volunteers have been uncovering, mainly in the main meadow area, as we've move debris away from the surface of the ground. We're uncovering new water channels that are connecting various water features. So there's some cool things evolving out of the community's efforts to help maintain and spruce up Allen Park. You can find details about any of our community work events, both at Allen Park and across the city, at stewardship.slc.gov, and I'll drop that in the chat afterwards. And hope to invite you all out and to see many more faces here in the future.
How's it going over there? Getting a lot of people walking through?
It is as active as ever. And I saw in the chat 2 of our Allen Park land stewards who I'd love to give a good shout out to, Patrick DePaulis and Wida Smith, who have been champions of Allen Park there every single day. And they can certainly speak to the traffic coming through the park. Steady stream of neighbors, of visitors. The tourism around the quirkiness of Allen Park is quite the hot topic if you ever get on Reddit or other channels. And so that stayed active. To speak a little bit towards planning, and I won't get into the weeds, but we still are forging a path forward for master planning around Allen Park. We're nearing the end of completing a cultural land.
Brandon, she might be frozen. Hey Maggie, do you want to mention who donated the lifts for the mural project? Bill Knowles just asked.
Oh,
Older Ventures and Big D Construction donated lifts for these artists to use for the murals. It was pretty awesome of them. Bill navigated through it. So Older Ventures is the big one he was talking about, and Big D Construction is doing their work. So super nice of them to help us out.
yes, thank you for reminding me about that. I also want to say that the 2 peacocks that live in Allen Park are being celebrated in one of the murals, which is super cool. If you're wondering why there's peacocks and on the mural next to the post office, they're part of our community.
Councilwoman Amy Fowler, are you ready? I know it's early, but we're waiting for somebody else to join on.
Sorry, yes, I am ready. Thank you so much. A few things. First, I want to say thank you to Maggie for joining the Salt Lake City Arts Council. It was maybe last council meeting that you were nominated and you were appointed to the Salt Lake City Arts Board. So thank you for your continued service to Salt Lake City. I'm excited that we have a good representative from Sugarhouse on that board. Again, thank you so much. I had a wonderful meeting with the school board recently. Our new superintendent, Dr. Gadsden, is really a wonderful man. If you haven't had a chance to meet with him, he really wants to be involved in the community and make sure that he's doing like all of the right things for Salt Lake City School District. We had a wonderful conversation about what I thought was something that's been brought up here a couple of times, crossing guards and redistricting. And I think that we have an opportunity as residents to talk with Dr. Gadsden and the Salt Lake City School Board on how we feel about those things. As many of you know, they're up by Highland. The community there started their campaign of trying to get people to slow down. And we were able to get a flashing crosswalk up on 21st South and I want to say 19th East, but it's not quite 19th East. It's like 1925 or something East. But I think that with the construction that is going on right there on 21 and 21, we need to make sure that we're more diligent in how our children are getting back and forth through that thoroughfare, which brings me to my next thing. I have some community money in the coffers and was considering making signs for the different areas. Slow down. 20 is plenty is part of the campaign, but I'd really like some feedback on what sort of, if there's yard signs in different neighborhoods that we can support as a city council to really support those efforts, especially with all of the construction that is going on and with school starting up again. I did have a couple of constituents reach out recently about 21st South and how there's no walkway right there. And if you look at where Blue Plate Diner used to be, there is sort of a walkway, I think, but constituent brings up a very good point that we need to be a little bit more diligent right there. And so we have some community money, and I want to be able to spend it in the way that you want it spent. And so if it's yard signs telling people to slow down, I mean, there's only so much I can do and so much that couldn't qualify. So don't think I can get a new crosswalk for us, but there are certain things that we can do as community outreach. And I would really love to hear from people on how we want to spend that and make sure that it is getting the message across. And that message may be different throughout the different areas within our district. And so again, I kind of bring up 21 and 21 because of last year and the tragic accident that we had, but the ability that we were able to get the crosswalk there. And I tell you what, I slow down every time I drive by by that area now. And so it is effective, and I just want to make sure that people know that we have that there and to reach out to me and see what we can do there. Sorry, I sort of did a tangent. I was talking about the school board and then crossing guards, redistricting, after school programs, and the SROs. And so SROs are the officers that are within our schools here in the district. And I truly believe that this school district wants to have more input from the community. I know we have an amazing representative with our school district, with Katie Sweat. And I think that I and the city council has not always been very communicative with the school board, and we are really trying to change that and make sure that everybody is on the same page. So it's a wonderful meeting and something that I hope that we can continue. I put this in the chat and I put it to everyone, and I apologize for that, but I'm going to say it out loud. I want to give a huge shout out to Mindy and her program at Highland High, and everything that she does. And we really should be supportive. She does this all on her own, and that provides substance as far as maybe food supplies or clothing supplies, but provides substance, emotional substance to children that at Highland High that may not always feel like they fit in, but they have somewhere to go. So Mindy, I want to thank you for all that you do for Highland High and the students, and know that you are very, very well appreciated and loved. As far as Allen Park goes, I did Nicole and I, my niece, many of you may have met her or at least heard me talk about her, but we did a cleanup day over at Allen Park last week or the week before, and it was lovely. We had a wonderful time. Patrick and Wida can tell you everything and anything you want to know about the park, and I am encouraged to keep just having all of us go there and enjoy such a beautiful thing that we were able to save for the city. I would also encourage the administration to make sure that we don't miss out on partnerships that we can have with Allen Park. I think that there are a lot of people that we have some of our own constituents that want to help out with Allen Park and be a part of it, and make sure that we really tap into the passion that our residents have for the amenities that we have here, and that they are willing to work for it and want to work for it. One of the things that I know, this is like completely random-ish, but one of the things that Detective Meinsner brought up was the registration of bikes, and then also talked about all of the CIT training. And I want to say I am grateful for all of the training that our officers go through. I'm grateful for this last budget session that we made sure to budget for more training, and we made sure to compensate our first responders in the way that they should have been compensated for 10 years. But one of the things that it brought to my head was what he said about the registration of bikes. And then Detective Meinsner also talked about his experience with, which, thank you, Detective, for your response with somebody going through a mental health crisis. Our 911 dispatch also has a registry for people who are autistic or have mental health crises. And our 911 dispatch, that registry, so if you have a family member or you are someone that may experience a mental health issue or a crisis, that there is a registry wherein our 911 dispatch can talk to the other first responders and make sure that yours or your loved one's information is known, so that they have more information at that sort of entry level, if you will, so that they're able to enter the situation more knowledgeable. And as someone that knows a lot of people, and through my work as a public defender and criminal defense attorney, this can be invaluable. And so, and I didn't know about it. Like, how did I not know about this as a public defender, right? And recently found out about it. And so I just want to, it was in my newsletter recently, but I want to encourage people to take advantage of the resources that we have, especially because we have amazing officers that are there to help people. The Fairmont Park Resource Fair, I'm excited for that. As many of you know, I've been doing kayak court, and it is not a city council hat. It is just my lawyer hat, but it is great. And I think that it really does help people get connected with resources. And I have definitely seen what's going on in Fairmont and what happened at the old DI site. And I know that we are working on solutions, and one of those solutions is the resource fair. So I will be there doing legal work, not city council work, but I encourage anyone who wants to volunteer to please volunteer. The two other things real quick, I want to thank Tim for bringing up, oh, was it Tim? Nope, it was Detective Meinsner for bringing up, but Tim, I want to thank you for bringing up all the things. Sorry, Tim. Detective Meinsner for the CIT program. We did also in the last budget include 12 new social workers to work with that CIT program that the detective talked with. And many of the things that I have heard over the last year and a half are about people experiencing homelessness and how are we addressing that? And I think we're doing exactly what we're trying to do to address it. We're increasing social work. We're hopefully increasing police officers with the things that we have done recently in the budget. Increasing or looking at an alternative response model. So where we can have people who are not police officers but still trained address certain issues so that our police officers are not taken away from the calls that they need to be on. And really, I'm excited about that. We've seen other jurisdictions do it and in the country. And I think that we have an opportunity now to really support our police officers and support our community in different ways that we've ever thought about. It's about being creative. And then we have CIP, my favorite thing. Our CIP budget, we are finalizing on August 24th. We've had, I think there's 3 or 4 applications that are directly related to Sugarhouse that there's 3 that are being funded and 1 that I am trying to help get funded, and that is the Safe Side Streets project that goes from 1700 South to 2100 South, and looking at those sort of side streets and how we can do some traffic calming over there. As many of you know, we funded the traffic calming down on 600 East and between 27th and 24th South. Unfortunately, nothing has been done, and many of you know this, that we fund CIP. It depends on how much people power can actually make things happen. But nobody's been forgotten. We're still working on all of that. And this other project is sort of another traffic calming in those areas between 1700 South and 21st South that really, as we all know, as traffic continues to increase in these areas, all of the side streets get used as thoroughfares. And how do we make sure that our neighborhoods are safe? So that is another project that was not recommended, but that I'm hoping we can at least get some partial funding for. And I really want to thank everyone for their input, I was asked today by the Trib what I love about CIP, and it is the fact that to me, the heart of a CIP application is that it comes from the constituents. And 2 years ago, no constituent application was funded. Not one. It wasn't even brought to the council. And there was an uproar. I was very unhappy about that, because it's one of the areas where I feel that constituents can say, here is the project, we've done all the work, now you have to just fund it, right? And that's the heart of CIP. And so it's nice to be able to get back to having some constituent funded applications or constituent initiated applications that we can fund. And I think that there is talk of a policy about a percentage of CIP funding that should always go to constituent initiated applications. So there's that. Landon, I will take questions in the chat. You don't have to tell me, I know the rules. And I just want to thank everyone, and I hope you're all having a good summer.
All right, thank you. So we had a community council member that asked about 5G towers, Sherry Jensen. So we invited someone to come over. I think they presented to ELPCO, which is the East Liberty Park Community Organization. and they're going to take it away. Rebecca, are you ready?
Yes. Hi. I think I can share my screen. Let me try. Oh, and this is William Huff.
Hello.
Okay, can you see that? Yes, okay. So we just want to start by saying that we are not experts in any way. We actually had a tower that was installed in one of our neighbors' area, and so we're going to tell you a little bit more about his experience with that. But we kind of, as board members of ELPCO, looked into kind of these 5G towers to educate other people in the community, and so they could understand kind of what's happening. And we had a lot of questions ourselves, and so hopefully maybe some of your questions will be answered through this presentation. So thanks so much for having us. So 5G networks are really kind of designed to boost wireless signals and give faster data speeds. They are supposed to be much faster than 4G and kind of have a lower lag time. They operate in a high frequency band of wireless spectrum, but these high frequency waves actually have a much harder time traveling through objects like houses and trees, and they get that frequency gets a lot weaker over long distances. And so they require small cell technology with antennas that are really close together.
And so, as Rebecca mentioned, that all these towers have to be close together to build up a network. And I'm sure you've seen the towers, mostly Verizon, just popping up all over. I think the spacing is usually about 150 to 250 feet apart. And to be able to use the 5G networks and get the 5G speeds, you'll have to purchase a 5G compatible phone and sign up for a 5G plan. And we've got a list here, this link that has the current 5G compatible phones. So most of the older phones, anything over a year or two old, won't be able to get the 5G speeds. And so each of the carriers will have their own 5G network and their own 5G towers. So right now, most of the towers are Verizon, but in the future, we have the potential for AT&T to add their network, and then Sprint and T-Mobile, et cetera. And the possibilities are limitless.
So one of the things that we did in this process was we reached out to Chris Norlam. He's from Salt Lake City Engineering, and he manages the cell tower installations or permits that go to him. And so we were really interested in kind of learning what the city's role is in these 5G towers. And actually, there's a federal mandate to allow these 5G towers in public rights of way, which is kind of within Utah state law. So the city is not allowed to limit the number of poles. Like Will mentioned, there's 4 companies that are installing the poles within the city now, but Verizon has the majority of them. And the lease for them is a 10-year lease, but then there's an option for a 10-year extension. And one of the questions that's kind of come up sometimes is, well, 4G went to 5G. Is there going to be later like 6 and 10 and whatever G? And what will happen with that equipment? I think the question is we really don't know. There is this 10-year period in which the equipment will exist, and then possibly another 10 years. So maybe those poles will actually continue to stay there while something new is installed for maybe more faster for speeds and things like that. But we're really not sure. So one thing that Chris mentioned is that the small cell equipment must meet the design standards. And there's a lot of information that goes into it. We live in a historic district, and I think maybe some of Sugarhouse might have historic districts within it. I know Yellowcrest certainly did. And there's questions about whether or not they would be designed to fit within the historic district, but really there's no city or state requirement to camouflage the poles. And one question that we had was, why can't, this cell equipment be attached to some of the existing poles? So like the Rocky Mountain power poles or some of the city street light poles. But Chris mentioned that they're just not strong enough to support them. And so therefore they're installing all these monopoles that you're seeing pop up everywhere.
The Salt Lake Tribune created this map that shows the current number of 5G permits as of March 2nd, and there's been about 300 of them. And since then, we've looked into the city's permitting process, and since March, there's been an additional 117 just by Verizon. And the cell phone companies don't have a master plan, or they have not provided the master plan. I'm sure that they have it, they know where they want to put the towers, but they're just submitting the permits one at a time, just kind of fly under the radar. And we have a link here if you want to go look at that Google map. Probably have to screenshot it because it's
and I think that some of the ones that more of the recent ones we're seeing are in, and probably you're seeing them pop up. They're in Sugarhouse and also kind of in the Rose Park area. We've seen just a number of permits in all throughout the valley. But they kind of had more targeted areas at first, and now I think they're expanding. And this is an interactive map, but it only has the first 300 permits.
And so one of the reasons we got involved trying to research this is because we had a neighbor that, as you can see, they put the tower up. It's within the boundaries of the sidewalk, but the city was saying that there's a utility easement there, which is usually just supposed to be for like buried lines, but they took advantage of that and they put the tower there within the boundaries of his yard. He didn't learn about this installation until the day the crews showed up to install it. He tried to reach out to Verizon. They were not very responsive. When he finally did get a call back, someone just said, I'm calling you back just to put on the record that we called you back and this is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. They requested it be moved to the park strip. You can see on the left side of the image, there's quite a bit of space there, but they built the power box for the 5G tower there, but wouldn't move the tower there. So it was a very frustrating experience for him.
Yeah, and he came to our ELPCO meeting and spoke about that experience. It was, really unfortunate. But I hope that if you were having a tower installed near you, that you have a better experience than he did. I think that there's more knowledge of this now. And certainly we do have some kind of resources in terms of what to expect if you are getting a 5G in front of your house or in your area. One thing that Chris Norland had mentioned is that neither state or city ordinance require advance notice for any planned utility installations, and so that would include 5G. They have been stating that they might put a door hanger notifying you that crews will be coming, but you might not get one. And in the case of George, he didn't get one at all. People were just out in his yard digging. And so roads might also be closed, or you might even not be able to park near your home during that time. But there is some contacts for Chris. He's been extremely responsive to any of our questions, as well as there's some contacts for Verizon. Sorry, we don't have the other cell phone carriers, but I think Verizon is the one with the majority of permits and doing monopoles now. And then we just wanted to give you an update on some recent developments. There were some residents from the Foothill area and the Yellow Crest Community Council, and they kind of teamed up with us with the goal of really trying to educate the community about this. And so that's why we're here. But they're also really kind of trying to advocate for more local control over tower placement. Because I think the concern really is that Salt Lake City is just processing these permits, and they don't have really any authority to say, hey, let's not put it in someone's yard, let's put it in the park strip, or let's move it here, or let's slow down this process. And another update that I think is really important and pertinent to your community council is in April, Verizon actually proposed a zoning amendment to allow taller towers. So I think right now they're at about 30 or 45 feet, but they were trying to get them to be up to 60 feet. And so ELPCO kind of really took a lead on this and prepared statements opposing the zoning amendment, and really reached out to the community to provide comments ahead of the Salt Lake Planning Commission meeting. And I think there was even news. The news came out and interviewed some people. And surprisingly, the proposed zoning amendment was postponed. And they think maybe Verizon kind of pulled it, but it might come up in the future. And so we kind of encourage you to keep an eye out for that. So that's everything that we have. I'm sorry I haven't been able to see the chat, but maybe we can answer any questions.
I can ask the chat questions for you.
Sure. Thank you.
Have you ever talked to them about putting them in alleyways?
Oh,
I haven't seen any questions about that.
there would have to be a utility easement, but I think that as the utility easement in the alleyway could support that space, the size of it, I think it could be potential for that. One thing that we did hear at the Yellowcrest Community Council meeting, I'm not sure who it was from, but they mentioned that one of the reasons that they're doing all these 5G towers might be for smart car technology. So my thought would be driverless cars, sorry, and not smart cars, but driverless vehicles. And so things like Lyft and Uber are really kind of pushing this 5G initiative. And so if they were placed in alleys, I'm not sure that would support that. I mean, maybe people would be cruising through the alleys or something, but I'm not sure. Great question though.
Driverless cars might solve the speeding issue, I guess, huh?
That's true.
Can you guys share this PowerPoint with us so we can share it?
Definitely. Sure. Yeah.
Right? Okay. I don't see anything else. Thank you. That's kind of sobering.
I know. I'm so sorry. I think we when we did this presentation before to Yellowcrest, I believe Erin was on, and she had mentioned, or maybe she had left, but she had brought it up maybe prior, and I think they feel it's been mentioned that maybe it seems like there's not, the position is that they can't control it, the Salt Lake City, but some people have mentioned that maybe there could be some changes or advances in that, and so thanks for having us, and we can try to have you give an update if we hear any more information on that.
Thank you. Thanks for that. That was great.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, Brandon, I'm going to introduce Brian. I'm going to butcher his last name. Brian, are you on?
I am, yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself and talk about your projects? And then you should be able to share your screen if that's what you would like to do.
Yeah, I would. That'd be great. I'm in my van, so I apologize if there's some road traffic. Let me see if I can. It looks like I'm disabled to screen share.
We'll get that. Do you want to introduce yourself and we'll get it figured out?
Yeah, sounds good. So my name is Brian Tonetti, and I am the executive director and one of the founders of a nonprofit organization called the Seven Canyons Trust. And our mission is to uncover and restore the buried and impaired creeks here in the Salt Lake Valley. We actually began out of a University of Utah course back in 2014, which was taught by Professor Stephen Goldsmith. And we were essentially given this idea of stream daylighting and restoration with the goal of creating a visioning document. So we entitled that visioning document 100 Years of Daylighting. So essentially looking at a century-long kind of time scale, a century-long vision to uncover and restore these creeks. This document went on to win a Utah American Planning Association award that kind of spurred the creation of our organization in that we had this award-winning document. So why not, create an organization to implement said document? So this idea of daylighting. Daylighting is essentially the uncovering of a stream previously buried in a pipe or a culvert. Typically, we aim to restore to the most natural state possible, but often this kind of depends on the factors upstream, kind of the surrounding land use, and the space that we might have available. There's also two other forms of daylighting, one of which is what we call architectural daylighting, which is typically kind of characterized by concrete creek beds and concrete creek bed. And then the other is kind of a more, we call it cultural daylighting. So essentially not physically bringing anything up to the surface, but rather the idea of daylighting, up to the collective consciousness, if you will. So that can be done through paint, such as like painting a creek channel over top a sidewalk that maybe an underground creek is flowing under, or through art and sculpture and even dance to represent these waters. It looks like maybe you figured out the screen share, Landon. Great.
I didn't, but I can't take credit for that.
Fair enough. Somebody did. And can I just get a confirmation that you can see that?
Yep, looks good.
Great. Let's see, there's our mission, our beginning.
This is an amazing park, by the way.
What's that?
This is an amazing park.
Thank you.
You guys did, yeah.
So some of the benefits of stream daylighting and restoration. Water and air quality by basically culverts, which are kind of containing these underground creeks, actually work to kind of speed up water velocities in that they're kind of smooth concrete pipes. And so you can actually increase erosion and transport nutrients and pollutants downstream. I think that we got a nice taste of what can happen when our city floods, this week. So these natural creek channels can essentially work to clean nutrients and pollutants through new vegetation along these uncovered stream corridors, through deposition and groundwater infiltration. Also, these new riparian forests that we're creating can also work to filter air pollution. Habitat, basically by creating riparian forests, we create critical riparian ecosystems. About 80% of Utah's wildlife rely on these types of ecosystems, riparian ecosystems, for a portion of their life cycle. However, this habitat only makes up about 1.2% of Salt Lake City's total land area. So you can see kind of like how critical this habitat is, and kind of how squished, if you will, it is here in our city. These habitats also provide habitat and resting and refuel for neotropical migratory birds traveling from South America to Canada every year. So uncovering these streams can support our biodiversity, decrease habitat fragmentation, and create wildlife corridors. They also improve our quality of life by adding a visual attraction, creating a sense of place, and kind of masking the sights and sounds of our urban city. They provide access to nature for nature-starved urban families and residents, which is truly kind of critical to their mental and physical well-being. Creeks and riparian forests can also cool the surrounding kind of microclimate and cool kind of the urban heat island effect that we see here.
Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
Your slides aren't flipping through.
Okay. Are they flipping now?
It's just on the same title page.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just going to go from
there you go.
This slide then. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. So they also can kind of provide gathering spaces for festivals, celebrations, and just kind of hanging out. Who doesn't want to hang out by a creek channel, right? Here in the hot desert. Daylighting can also improve property values and business revenues. There was this really cool $18 million project, daylighting project in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which generates about $12 million each year through the hosting of these kind of regional citywide festivals. These projects can also facilitate surrounding development, as who doesn't want to live by or locate a business by a waterway? And many of the communities throughout the US are actually finding it cheaper to remove aging infrastructure rather than, or removing aging infrastructure and kind of daylight the creek rather than basically replacing that pipe or culvert. So if you imagine a creek flowing down a pipe and that pipe needs to be replaced, right? You essentially have to uncover and daylight that stream and then re-culvert it, right? So many communities are actually finding it cheaper to just daylight it and leave it above ground. Creeks can become living laboratories for the surrounding schools to kind of study the benefits of our streams. Greenway corridors adjacent to creeks can also be east to west trails here in the Salt Lake Valley. So we have excellent north to south trails in the Bonneville Shoreline Trail and the Jordan River Trail, but nothing that quite connects the two, right? The Parley's Trail, I think, is a really good example that's almost there, that runs right through the Sugarhouse neighborhood, of kind of creating this connection between the Wasatch Range and the Jordan River, kind of this range to river connection. Creeks can also provide opportunities to fish, and access to trails and recreation kind of improves our public health. There was a study that found that trail users saved about $500 in annual medical care each year. And finally, resiliency, which I think is really poignant right now. Culverts can create choke points in our system where flood debris can actually kind of obstruct the pipes and actually not allow this creek water to flow through our stormwater system. Whereas daylighting, uncovering these creeks, works to remove those choke points and can actually slow water velocities through things like the natural meanders of a stream and the rocky and vegetated banks. And when we include a floodplain in that project, we can actually have kind of the water slow down, spread out, and infiltrate into the groundwater rather than just being kind of conveyed downstream as fast as possible. So here's a look at kind of our hydrology here in the Salt Lake Valley. So the 7 canyon creeks are City, Red Butte, Emigration, Parley's, Mill, Big Cottonwood, and Little Cottonwood creeks. And the 2 creeks that are most meaningful to the Sugarhouse neighborhood, which run through the Sugarhouse neighborhood, are Emigration Creek, whose native name is, and excuse me for butchering it, but Cip Budget, which is the native name for Emigration Canyon. It has about 5 miles of its creek channel buried, which is typified by kind of that red section. You can see it kind of on the lower portion of the map. And then what's impaired, which means if a creek is impaired, it essentially just means that the water quality is degraded in some way. So essentially about 12 miles of Emigration Creek is impaired. So essentially what's not physically buried underground, the water quality is degraded in some way. And then the second creek, which flows through the Sugarhouse neighborhood, is Parley's Creek, whose native name is Obit-Ko-Kichi. It's buried for about 9 miles. A lot of that burial happens under I-80, Parley's Canyon, and has about 10 miles of impaired waterway. So some of the projects that we're actively working on, or kind of our demonstration projects, The Three Creeks Confluence is a project to uncover where Red Butte emigration and part of these creeks meet the Jordan River. It's a project that, well, here's a look at the location. It's roughly 13th South and 9th West in the Glendale neighborhood of Salt Lake City. If you know where the Sorensen Unity Center is, it's kind of kitty corner to this project site, just to the kind of upper right-hand corner of the screen. Here's a look at kind of the previous condition. We're essentially looking east down 1300 South. The pipe kind of in the middle of the screen is those that used to, and I'm still getting used to that, that used to convey the creeks. And the kind of the water body in the lower portion of the screen is the Jordan River. So we're essentially looking directly east down the 1300 South right of way. So it was essentially kind of a dead end right of way and surface parking lot. This project actually originated in that visioning document that I mentioned at kind of the start of the presentation, 100 Years of Daylighting, as kind of this capstone or demonstration project of stream daylighting here in the Salt Lake Valley. So as students in this University of Utah course, we presented this vision and some kind of rough renderings and rough site plan to the former council member of the district, Kyle Lamotha, in 2014. And he truly championed this project. He essentially got the other city departments involved in the project and basically helped us kind of push the project along through those different city departments and city processes. So Salt Lake City hosted 3 public workshops to kind of engage residents in the design. In addition to that process, the Seven Canyons Trust did its own kind of creative community engagement effort to further engage residents, which we used kind of 3 different urban interventions, which are essentially just low-cost, short-term projects that work to ultimately catalyze long-term change. So the first was to kind of partner with the surrounding community to paint a creek channel at the project site over top where the underground creeks were flowing to kind of show the community that, one, there was this idea of underground waterways that was flowing through their neighborhood, right? Which, you know, many of them didn't even know. And 2, to kind of spur exploration of the future project site and get them excited or curious at the very least about what was going on there. The second was to use a big chalkboard at a few community celebrations that we hosted to gather feedback, you know, goals and visions for the future project site. And the third is what this photo is representing, which is what we call the Three Creeks Wayfinding installation. We partnered with 2 local artists, Wendy Wisher and John Mack, to create this installation. And it was essentially 3 bridges representing those 3 creeks, which came together representing kind of that confluence or convergence. And at the top, it created kind of this community stage. And so when we put it on the site, we actually invited the community to come down and we did an open mic where the community shared stories and poetry and you know, essentially feedback about what was going on and what they wanted to see at the future site. So here's a look at the aerial of the previous site. You can see kind of that right-of-way property. That's kind of a surface parking lot adjacent to that white building, which is an auto shop. And then to the left of that, which is north, is this, in this photo, kind of open field. It was a vacant home up until like 2016 when the city acquired it. And it essentially had burned maybe 4 or 5 times. And the community was really excited, I think, to see it go. It had this huge graffiti piece on it. So anyways, this is kind of the before, and this is the after. And essentially the main feature of the design was the daylighted creek channel, which is about 200 feet of daylighting. there was a fishing bridge, a bridge that spanned the creek channels that was intended to kind of be an area where the community could come and toss a line in. Even previous to this project, it is, if not the most, one of the most fished spots along the Jordan River because of the cool kind of oxygenated water coming out of the culvert there. The fish, there was a pretty high diversity of fish in this area. So people really like to fish here. So we wanted to include that in the design. We also created a plaza space for programming and celebration, which some of you may have joined us for our opening celebration a couple weeks ago and really got to experience that plaza space. We have a bridge that spans from the project site to the other side of the river where the Jordan River Trail is. And so I wanted to kind of share a few before and after photos. But before I do that, this project was originally proposed in 2014. So it's been about 7 years since a few University of Utah students proposed this project. And we raised about $3 million to construct that design, which I showed you, and have just recently, this past month, completed construction. And as I mentioned, celebrated the opening of the park on July 9th, where we had over 1,000 people come join us and truly got a sense for the excitement for this project in the community. With that, we've taken a series of photo points, and this is the photo from 2014 up until 2021. So about a 7-year difference between the two. So this is our second photo point. So before and after. This is our third photo point. Before, you can kind of see the fishing pier that somebody created with pallets and this little chair right over here in kind of the middle right-hand part of the screen. So before and after. Our fourth photo point, before and after. In this photo, you can kind of get a sense for this east to west bridge, which is that fishing bridge that I mentioned. On either side of the bridge, you can kind of see these metal designs. Those are all designs that were submitted. I think there was over like 150 designs that were submitted to the Salt Lake City Arts Council. They're all designs from the community. Basically the Arts Council took 2D basically designs and laser cut them into the metal of the bridge. And so I would really encourage you guys to go down and check out some of the amazing art that people have created from the community. And, you know, a lot of it really represents what that community is about. So I think that that was a really cool element of this project as well. And then the final photo point across the Jordan River. So you saw this photo, the before, and here's the after. And then the second project, which I wanted to mention, is our 7 Greenways vision plan. So this is an effort to essentially capture the collective imagination in the creation of Greenway corridors along these 7 creeks. So here's a look at kind of the scope of the plan. Again, including those 7 creeks: City, Red Butte, Emigration, Parley's, Mill, Big Cottonwood, and Little Cottonwood creeks. This plan essentially will work to highlight opportunity areas in each of these 7 greenways, recommend best management practices, possible policies for implementation, and will include kind of a toolbox of design concepts and guidelines for these 7 greenways. So we received a Wasatch Front Regional Council Transportation and Land Use Connection grant for about $135,000. And then all 8 of the municipalities and Salt Lake County all provided matching funds to the project and the process, which we were really excited about, essentially meaning that all 8 of these municipalities that border the creeks and Salt Lake County are all buying into this vision and are supportive of that and working with us towards this kind of collective 100-year vision. So the process started with our first phase, which is our existing conditions phase. We wrapped that up maybe 5 months ago or so. We are just wrapping up our second phase, which is the community visioning phase. And over the last month, we hosted about 15 different pop-up workshops in parks and open spaces throughout Salt Lake County, where we asked people to essentially identify opportunity areas on a map to help us kind of build out these Greenway corridors. And so you can see all of those opportunity areas identified throughout this process. And in fact, the best way to kind of stay up to date with the plan and where the plan's at now is through the project website called 7greenwaysvisionplan.org. And once I wrap up, I'll throw that in the chat for you guys. And so here's a look at kind of that mapping opportunity. You can see people have begun to basically put stickers with Post-it notes of locations that they want to see improvements for. And so all of those locations are all on that project website under the kind of, let's see what's the best way. It's 7greenwaysvisionplan.org/places. You can see where people have mapped different opportunity areas. And I can throw that in the chat as well. So with that, I always, before I'm happy to answer questions or anything like that, I always like to kind of end my presentations with 3 ways that people can get involved with our organization, get more information, stuff like that. So the 3 ways I think best for the Sugarhouse community to stay involved with our organization is to sign up for our newsletter and follow us on social media. It's where we post all of our project updates, all of our events, kind of all the happenings that our organization is up to. You know, join our events and volunteer opportunities. They're all on our website. They're all posted through our social media. So come check out an event that looks exciting to you. And then finally, I would be remiss not to mention that we're a nonprofit organization and love tax deductible donations. So if you're really excited about the mission and the vision, make a donation and support our organization. So with that, happy to answer questions. I will stop sharing my screen.
Hey, Brian, we're taking most questions in the chat, but
great.
As you'll see, most people are thrilled with what you've done. And I think it's important. We live in a pretty cool city. So thanks for coming and showing off another area of town.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully the Three Creeks Confluence project is, you know, a demonstration to what we can do throughout the Salt Lake Valley. So I just sent that 7greenwaysvisionplan.org link. If you just put a /places in there, you can check out that mapping exercise, and we're going to leave it open for, you know, indefinitely at this point. So feel free to throw opportunity areas in there if you're so inclined.
All right, thank you. Thanks for taking the time. Really amazing work.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Amy, do you have a few? Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. This is generally why I'm last, is because there's always something that I forget to say, and I thank you, Landon, for letting me say it. First off, one of the things I wanted to say is that as optimistic as we were at moving to hybrid model of city council meetings because of the increase in COVID cases and the mask mandate in city buildings, we are going back to all virtual starting August 17th. This is a way for us to keep our staff safe and the public safe. It is not ideal, and I'll tell you what, it's not what I want to do, but it is what we are, where we're at right now. I mean, if I may be completely honest, I am vaccinated, and all of my friends are, and yet we have 3 or 4 of my friends who are COVID positive right now. And it is like the flu, and you get the flu shot every year, and it doesn't mean you don't get the flu. It just means hopefully the symptoms aren't as bad. But I feel a duty, and I think our city council feels a duty to make sure that we're protecting residents and our city staff. So we will be going back to all virtual. And if anyone has questions about that, please feel free to contact me. The other thing I forgot about was, which how could I forget, but I apologize, was the flooding that happened on Sunday and Monday. If you have experienced any flooding in your house, please contact Public Utilities. They will come and evaluate the system and the drainage system. I literally just got off the phone with Laura Briefer, and I think she said it best when she said, with acts of God like this, we can't predict everything. Acts of God or goddesses, whatever you may believe in. We can't predict everything, but they will certainly come out and evaluate the drainage system. And I know that many of our drainage systems, like especially up in the Highland Park area, actually throughout all of Sugarhouse, if I may be honest, there's lots of infrastructure that we're trying to fix, and the drainage is one of them. So if you have experienced flooding, please contact Public Utilities, and they will be happy to come out and evaluate it and make sure that if there's anything that we can do. I mean, in all reality, it's Public Utilities that will handle it, but wanted to make sure that you knew that Public Utilities was there to make sure to try to help this from not happening in the future again, because 4 years ago it happened, which thank God Sprague didn't flood, right? We all remember 4 years ago. But Laura wanted to make sure that all of you had that resource there. So those were the only things. Thank you, Landon. I apologize for keeping us longer than we should.
No problem. Thank you. I'm just going to see if Cherie has anything from Sprague Library. Cherie, I told him you guys didn't flood.
Yeah, that I think people were a little confused because they had heard that a library had flooded, which downtown Maine did receive some flood damage, and we were without our computers and network for a while till they got that back open. I guess 200 East backed up, and then it went down into our L1 level. Other than that, yeah, we're perfect. We don't have any issues. And there's just a couple more days for our Super Summer Challenge. So if you guys signed up, then you can come in and get some prizes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. All right, guys. Well, meeting adjourned. Thanks to everybody for coming. Some of the new faces that are on here tonight. So thanks for really taking the time. See you in September.